Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I talk about the energy. I talk about the chi, the force, the life, the soul spirit, and I talk about the ether. To me it's all the same thing. And I want to talk about the science of ether today, ether physics. But I've talked about this a lot, and I've talked about it in comparison to our physics, our earthly technology. But now we've all got the idea there's something more, there's alien technology. And I'm saying that ether physics will explain that also. So today I'm going to explain to you how alien technology works, what they've got and what they can do and how it actually works. And perhaps then you'll see the power of this ether physics. You see, the aliens will know this. They will understand the grand unified field, and they will understand metaphysics. They will understand the mathematics of the golden ratio. It's very important. Mathematics governs the whole universe. And of course they will understand the soul spirit, consciousness, intention. They will understand the nature of the universe, which is what this ether physics is all about. It must integrate with consciousness, life. So they will have that in the technology. They will also need to have a mindset. For example, the UFO will have to have a pilot, a consciousness in it. And they have to be a high-level consciousness. High-level technology requires high-level consciousness. And that's partly one of the philosophical reasons why we don't have it yet. But our consciousness is kept very low, very earthly, very limited. It's done on purpose. So we can't understand this science. But what have they got? Well, we know they've got UFOs. How do they work? Well, they're going to work through electromagnetism. Everything is electromagnetism. So if we can understand, again, the nature of the universe, ether, pure metaphysical fluid, field of consciousness, that has a disturbance, an intention. That intention, it gets focused, localized, then this becomes electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is a manifest, an objective disturbance in the ether or of the ether. So it's created from spirit, from intention. So that's where the energy comes from. That's the problem. Free energy is created. It comes from consciousness. That's why modern science, our science, can't understand it. But of course the aliens will. Now again, there's aliens. Again, do I believe in them? Yes, of course I do. But again, do I believe everything I'm told? No, not at all. There's lots of fun and games going on about aliens. That's why I've got to explain the science. Then you can understand the reality of this, and you'll know what they can and cannot do. See, for example, there's no dematerialization and rematerialization, not physically. If that happens, it's only happening in the energy world. See, that's one thing we've got to understand. We cannot have total materialization and dematerialization. In other words, this rock, I cannot make this disappear and reappear exactly as it is somewhere else. That we cannot do. This is now crystallized ether. Remember, there's only ether, and it always follows the same laws. It has to. So this had to follow the law of creation to be created. If I destroy it, it will disappear back to ether. Now I can't recreate it again. If I recreate it again, it will come out. I could create something similar, but it will never be the same. And I could only recreate it through the same process. Ether must create a disturbance, electromagnetism, that must create a standing wave of electromagnetism, a spinning wave, all by itself. That is still pure fluid ether. That is a particle. And that particle then becomes material substance, atoms. So I have to go through this process. I can't make this disappear and reappear. So we don't have teleportation. We don't have wormholes. There's none of that. Because again, we're not talking about Einstein here. But what we have the field of ether, and we have the field of electromagnetism, disturbance of that ether. And we can do a lot with that. You see, we don't have wormholes, but you can travel very, very fast indeed. You don't have dematerialization and rematerialization, but you will have the creation of matter. You will have 3D printing in atoms, and I'll explain to you how it can work. They're already thinking about it in this world anyway. How can we do 3D printing in atoms? You see, they'll still have to get the atoms from somewhere, a substance here, pluck out an atom, put it here, pluck out an atom, put it here. But the aliens will be able to create the atoms. I'll come to that. So it's all to do with field theory, electromagnetism. And you have to understand the other thing about ether physics. You have to understand this. This is where it's different. It's special. Because energy is created. It comes out of nothing. We're in the created world here, material world. So for us, we can't see the unmanifest world, the infinite world, the ether. For us, when the ether comes into materialization, it will come from a point. It will come from nothing. And this we call a point of inertia. Inertia means rest, nothing. But it also means infinite energy, infinite potential. So from this point of nothing, energy creates. So this is a point of inertia. You have to understand that it's the basics of ether physics. And in order to create a free energy machine or do anything, you have to be able to create one of these points of inertia such that energy comes out. That's what a magnet is. We've already done it. This is a magnet. We've set up a system, a substance, aligned up the atoms. This is a substance arranged in a geometry such that we've created a point of inertia. In the middle is a point of nothing. And magnetism is coming out. Well, it's electromagnetism, but the magnetic field is the dominant part. We're getting a magnetic energy. But we can set up something the same, that an electrical energy comes out, a current. We don't know how to do that, but that's a free energy machine. A substance set up in such a way that you create a point of inertia, energy is created, comes out of it. The field is coming out of nothing in the middle. So the whole universe works like that. And the aliens will understand that. They'll know how to do it. So if you can create a substance that you can use to create a point of inertia such that energy comes out, and a lot of energy, and it's going to be electromagnetic energy. So if you can do that, now you can create a massive electromagnetic field. So you can create a magnetic field. And what you can do then is build a craft in such a way that you have a system like that constructs a field around it. You've got a very strong magnetic field around it. Now this has got to be super strong. So strong we cannot comprehend the strength of this magnetic field. Very strong. So you can only do this with one of these free energy machines. And people have seen this. You know, there's lots of whistleblowers about UFOs and whatnot. And people say that they've seen these craft and there's a sort of a box, a solid object. And this must be the energy. And there's a sliding thing on it. You can slide it, you know, up and down. So that will change the amount of energy. So there's something interesting. Again, it's like a magnet, a solid object. But it will be a solid object, a substance, such that there'll be a point of inertia and energy comes out of it. And I suspect it's going to be a combination of a magnetic substance and a crystalline substance. So crystals are different atoms arranged in a different way, but they create electricity, an electric current. So it's piezoelectricity. If you crush a crystal, electric current will come out. You've got to squeeze it, apply pressure to it. Now a magnet is metal atoms. Again, particular type of atoms, but they've got to be aligned. They're magnetic. Each atom is polarized. So you can align it to create a structure of atoms in alignment. And once you get this alignment, it does something called coherence. So when these atoms all align, they cohere. When they cohere, they become like one big atom. Each of these atoms is a little magnet, but when they all get together, they become one big magnet with a little point of inertia in the middle. Coherence. Same with the crystal. You use crystals for lasers to make coherent light. The light is all vibrating at the same way. It's the same as a magnet, coherence. When it all vibrates in the same way, you get amplification. So you need a crystal for that. And it's because of the substance. The alignment of the atoms is such that they all cohere into a single object. Again, this is like one piece of geometry all by itself, even though it's made up of billions of little pieces of geometry. And this will allow coherence of light, coherence of energy, information, amplification. So crystalline combined with magnetism, and if you can do it in such a way that you've got a point of inertia, that energy comes out both electric and magnetic. You've got to be able to control both. Now you've got a system of creating a vastly powerful field, but then you also need a system of controlling it, adjusting the power and focusing it. So you will need a powerful magnetic field to surround the craft, so that will allow it to levitate, because everything is magnetism anyway. And if you get a powerful enough magnetic field, and it's circular, spherical, it's enclosed, what happens is it's like it becomes its own little universe inside there. Again, it's got to be so powerful. It separates itself from the rest of the universe. It separates itself from the ether. It's its own little universe inside. Now, inside that universe, you're going to be following the normal laws of physics, but you've separated yourself from the outside. So it doesn't. You don't have to follow Newton's laws of mechanics. You don't even have to follow. You're not even following gravity. It overpowers gravity so much so that gravity becomes irrelevant. Now, I've got to explain this once more. If you listen to my other lectures, Aether Physics 1 and 2, I talk about how a neutron is formed. You see, if you understand how a neutron is formed, what they're doing is essentially creating one big neutron. So a neutron is created directly from the ether. High frequency disturbance of the ether creates electromagnetism. Super high frequency disturbance in the ether creates super high frequency electromagnetism, such that it loops back on itself. It starts to chase its own tail, and then it goes round and round and round. It creates a self-sustaining standing wave of a disturbance in the ether. That is a particle, and we call that a neutron. It's a perfect sphere. Now what you've got is a lump of matter. This is now a material substance. The magnetic field is perfectly balanced, spherical. It creates the illusion of mass. And it's actually now energy that is stuck in its own little universe. It wants to go back to the big ether, disappear, but it can't. It's chasing its own tail. In the middle is a little point of inertia. It's trying to go to the middle, disappear, but it can't. So now it's become its own little universe, and it mirrors the big universe. But it's separate now. It's a thing in its own right. It can go and do something. And again, when you create an atom, you combine these neutrons. Protons is the same as a neutron, so it's the same particle, but a proton is disturbed a bit, so it becomes a bit more toroidal. Now what happens is, it's always electricity and magnetism, or electrostatics and magnetism, dielectricity. So when a neutron, the magnetic field is dominant, so it's neutral, it's sealed over. In a proton, the dielectric field is dominant, so it's like the electric charge opens up. So this aspect of energy bursting out is dominant. The magnetic field is the energy coming back when that one's dominant. So when you've got this dielectric dominant, what you have is a charge. You've got a direct line straight to the point of inertia, and now it's got more energy. It's got an actual dynamism to it, a polarity. So now it has more energy to attract. But it's the same particle, a different function of the same particle. Neutron, proton. So between these two things you have atoms. But you have some atoms behave like neutrons. When they all get together, they're neutral, they're balanced, and they become like a big sphere, just like a neutron. Again, due to coherence. Everything coheres, and now it becomes a bigger thing with the same pattern. A little point of inertia in the middle, energy spinning around. And you have different frequencies of this energy in the atom. Different states means different harmonics. That's where you got quantum. It's harmonics. Different energy jumps. But it's still pure fluid energy. It's just harmonics in a pure fluid field. They're fixed harmonics, but the frequencies are infinite. Do you understand? So anyway, it becomes the same thing, like one big neutron. It's an atom now, but it behaves like a neutron. Some atoms have a polarity, like a proton. So they all cohere, but the dielectric is still exposed. So now it's a particular atom with a polarity, more like a magnet. So it becomes like a giant proton. And then you've got atoms like this. Now I've got loads of them. This behaves like a neutron. This whole thing is neutral. And this magnet behaves like a proton. The protons in here are dominant. The atoms in here, the dielectric is dominant like a proton. So when they all get together and align, the whole thing, the dielectric is dominant, and you've got a polarity. And that now you've got energy coming out. So you want one where the neutron, when you get a circular field around a craft, it becomes like a giant neutron. It's self-sustained in its own little universe. And you can also think of that as a superconductor. Superconductor. I've got to explain this in more detail. So a superconductor just allows it to slip through. It slips through the rest of the field. So you have the alien technology will have a point of inertia, a powerful magnetic field that encloses it and allows it to slip through the field and do what it likes. But it's got to be very, very powerful magnetic field. And how does it travel? How does it travel? Well, you'll need to create another point of inertia in front of it. So you create like a black hole in front. And then what happens is it gets sucked towards the black hole. So again, you need two fields. One field to enclose the craft, and then one field that you project out in front. And that creates a gravitational force or a magnetic force that pulls it towards it, like a carrot and a stick. And you can control the power and the intensity of this point of inertia in front of it to make it move in any direction you want. So that's how they would use ether technology to power a UFO. And you'll be able to travel very, very fast. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about, the same thing, is 3D printing. Because the people that have seen these UFOs, they say, well, they're 3D printed. They're completely solid. They can't see any manufacture. And they're very, sort of organic, fluid. So that means they're using ether physics. If you've got organic geometry, we're talking about ether, natural shapes, natural forms. And again, it's fluid, so it's, if the whole thing is seamless, it's created a nice fluid structure, that's going to give it an energy, a resonance, a power of ether. So this will focus the intention of the pilot. That's where the geometry, the mysterious geometry comes in. The mysterious part of these things is to do with focusing spirit. That's why it's artistic. That's why we don't understand it. That's why it works in ancient cathedrals, temples. They're all different. They're artistic. Yeah, but there's a geometry there. It's more than just art. It's to help focus the intention, get the primal geometry of the universe into the thing. So that's where you'll have these mysterious shapes. And of course the shapes will be there to help balance the field. You'll need that as well. So you have disc shapes. These things make sense. But you'll have orbs. Orbs make sense as well. Orbs, it could be a magnetic field. It's going to be an orb. Has to be orbs. So anyway, how do they create 3D printing? Well, you have to have, again, a machine, a free energy machine, so powerful that the point of inertia can emit a super high frequency electromagnetic disturbance. So the ether is disturbing a super high frequency such that neutrons come out. So it's literally like a black hole, the power of a black hole. But you have to control it, harness it in a machine. You have a structure that has a black hole that you can control it such that neutrons come out. So that's the only way you can create matter. Matter will be created as a neutron. That's the point of creation. That's the only one. So how do you get other atoms? Well, the next thing happens. So if you have the free energy machine pumping out neutrons, then it will have to go through a frequency machine. So that will broadcast a particular frequency of a substance, an atom. So the neutrons will come into that. And now the neutrons are going to get together. Some have to become protons. Some have to, remain neutrons. They need more energy. All that comes together because now they're in existence. So the frequency machine will hold them in suspension, broadcast a frequency that tunes the neutrons to get together in such a way to create a substance, an atom. So now you choose the atom you want. You choose it because it's a frequency. Once the atom gets together, again, due to coherence, it becomes a single object vibrating at a single frequency, a point of inertia with energy spinning around it, and it will have harmonics. So if you can find that frequency of the atom, broadcast it, you've got the neutrons are there, they will get together based on that frequency, and then the next bit will be the atom come out. But you'll choose the atom, so you get some atoms coming out, build the thing. You want to change a different atom, frequency changes, a different atom comes out, dip, dip, dip. So you're 3D printing in atoms, and you're choosing them. Now, if you can do this, and Tesla talked about this as well, by the way, a machine which you can produce matter. But if you could do this, you could probably also produce some materials, some atoms that you may be so hard to find in nature. They may exist, but they're so rare, none of us see them. So you can create new atoms, very rare atoms, that require very delicate balance. So that's when they say alien technology, oh, it's got a different element. So again, they might be able to create these elements with this 3D atomic printing machine, because they know the frequency of that element. They can create it. But we can't do it because we haven't got a neutron producer, and we don't know the frequencies. So we still haven't got a free energy machine that can produce neutrons. That's a big deal. I mean, let's get one first that we can just produce some electricity. We've got this one. It's not that powerful. We need to find a way of making this super, super powerful. And then we need to find a way of making this super powerful and getting electricity out of it. Both. And then we need to develop a method of getting this so powerful it becomes like a black hole. And we can create a magnetic field so powerful that we can create an orb and suspend ourselves in this such that it's independent from the world around it. You've created your own little universe in a bubble. And again, we have to know this goes together with metaphysics. This is how the energy body works as well. You know, once you've got energy body that's really just in the ether. It's in the plane of intention. But what we're talking about here now is in the material plane. Creating this power is like etheric power, but it's material. We're also now playing with, objective reality. So I can create an energy body of my own, but that's sort of subjective. I might be able to talk to people with it, but they will perceive me in a different way. It's still subjective. If I could, this physical body is now objective. We can all perceive it in the same way. Do you see? There's a crossover. So for me to make this physical body disappear and reappear somewhere else, I can't do that. This physical body has to appear through the process of growth. And you can't cheat that. You can't really cheat that. You might be able to accelerate it a bit, but I don't think you can accelerate it much, because the cellular structure, everything has to follow the process of nature. There's no way. You can, like I said, you can harness it to a degree. And again, even genetics, we think, can we manufacture genetic beings? Yeah, we can to a degree, but we can't, because the genetics is always changing. It's also connected to spirit. We cannot harness it completely. We can play around with it, but it will jump, it will change, it will go back to what it was. They know that now. It does its own thing, and they don't understand why does it do its own thing. And it's not that easy changing a few genes. It's actually quite complicated. You have to do lots of things in the DNA. So, but again, it will be governed by information. It will be governed by frequencies. That's how you will do it. And we can do that ourselves anyway, regrow our own DNA. We tell ourselves what to do. So there will be some limited ability to do this. But I wanted to give this little introduction. It's simply the same science can explain alien technology, and it can explain our physics, what we've got so far. And it should help us push to the next level. Let's build something. Let's get the first free energy machine going. I don't think it's that difficult. Just need some clever people, clever engineers to open their mind a bit and see another way of looking at the universe. And we'll get there. So thank you so much for listening. Please do check out the other lectures, and I'll talk more about this in the future as well. So thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in any of these other videos here.